Welcome back, everybody, to the James and Dames Show. I'm Will James.
I'm Josiah Damas. Or Dames. For the sake of the podcast, it's Dames.
It's never gonna get decided. It's gonna be every intro. It's Damas or Dames, whichever you prefer. Please stay. No, already off the rails. Today we are talking NFC North predictions. Oh boy, I get to talk about I think most interesting team this year. Finally.
Yeah.
Again. They're the team where I'm like,
Again.
I hate talking about them. But also, let's talk about the Bears.
The Bears.
Because, yeah, they frustrate me so much. All
right, let's get going.
We'll get into them straight away with the Chicago Bears.
Yes. These are all, we've stated this in other videos. If we have games that we already have finished, these are just transferred from the other predictions. So for the first 3 weeks, the Bears are 2-1. They beat the Titans, they beat the Colts, but they lose to the Texans. Week 4, Rams visiting the Bears. If I know history correctly, 2018, that Rams and Bears game was a good game. It was a very great game. I'm hoping that it can at least be a very good game. Probably not as good as the 2018 game, but a very great game. Do you think the Bears will be able to beat the Rams? The Rams are definitely a more developed team right now.
I see the Bears winning this one.
Just because it's at home? Or I guess what's your reason?
Just because the Bears are going to be nonsense this year.
They're going to be hot and cold.
It's going to make no sense, I swear. I expect them to be the most confusing team.
Valid.
Maybe. There are some other contenders for that. But yeah, beating the Rams at home I think is very possible. Rams are going to be a solid team. Dare I say a good team this year, but
dare you. Anyways.
Yeah, I could see a win against the Rams. Stafford against an NFC North team.
Yeah. Week 5, Panthers going to the Bears. No, Panthers are not winning.
No, I was gonna say Bears again, but then we have week 6 also at home. The Jaguars.
We had the Jaguars beating the Bears,
which is what I thought.
Then they have a bye week 7.
Mm-hmm.
Week 8 we have the Commanders beating the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Week 9. This is at Arizona.
That's true.
If we know Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals, a very scrappy team, this is the same team we're talking about that somehow beat the Eagles and the Cowboys last season. So, if you're getting where I'm going, Cardinals could very easily beat the Bears.
Absolutely.
I think they do in this situation.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals might be a little bit better than what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
And, past couple of years. Obviously, a lot rides on Kyler to kind of be what he's been, paid to be.
Paid to be.
But, I mean, they've kind of actually rebuilt pretty well. They've gone through
they're being quiet about it.
People might get really upset if I say this, but their rebuild is almost like Lions-esque. It's very much through the draft. They've made good picks.
Mm-hmm. I haven't heard anything negative when it comes to the rebuild that's going down there, besides maybe the coach.
Jonathan Gannon's just weird, man.
He's a weird coach.
He's not bad. He's just weird.
See, the thing is that there's a difference between Dan Campbell and Gannon. It's just Dan Campbell was entertaining. Bite off some kneecaps.
Gannon's
just a different kind of weird.
He's entertaining, but just not the way Dan Campbell is.
He's entertaining.
He just
his
says
own way.
weird things, but
Anyway,
he proved to be pretty decent last year with a not good team.
and he also didn't have Murray for a while.
Yes, this was with why can't I think of his actual name? What is
Dobbs?
Is it Dobbs? I was like Josh Dobbs, and I'm like, no, not Josh Dobbs. Yes, Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, Dobbs. He was there for a while.
He was good with Dobbs for some reason.
I don't know why.
But then they got rid of him. It was rough. But again, there's a lot of rough spots still on that team. They're recovering from when Cliff Kingsbury was there, which was just super veteran heavy, a lot of aging players, and It was not pretty. And so they're left to pick up the scraps, and they've started to get somewhere. I think you see them take another step forward. It might not be, it's not going to be like Texans rebuild, but maybe like Lions year 2, where Lions year 1 with Dan Campbell, they had 1 win, 2 wins? 3 wins?
No, they had 3 wins.
3 wins.
3 wins.
But then like year 2, narrowly missed the playoffs.
Wow, they were 8-9.
So, and I think that's kind of what we could expect with the Cardinals. Solid team. And I think they got unexpectedly a solid team, and I think they can come in and they'll beat the Bears at home.
Yes.
Mini tangent about the Cardinals. Patriots?
Patriots beat the Bears. We had that. Week 11. I believe the Bears are going to split with the Packers.
Yeah, I would say
It's like we said, a very sporadic, confusing team for a bit. I think the Bears somehow pull off a win against the Packers this year. I do think it's going to be earlier in the season,
which is their home game.
So therefore, I think the Packers will lose to the Bears in Week 11. Not saying the Packers are bad. I'm just saying that the Bears, just for some random reason, I feel like they will win against the Packers at least one of their games.
Yeah.
Vikings come... Oh.
No, I was agreeing with you. I just think there's a solid chance, again, Bears being super sporadic, they could win any of these games. They could also lose all of these games. But
yeah,
we see Vikings, like you were saying.
Vikings are also in a quote-unquote rebuild as well. Not really, but they kind of are, especially with a new QB. They just paid Justin Jefferson. This is also one of those things where it's like, I think J.J. McCarthy should start by this point. Depends. Also, it depends on his injury as well. We talked about that already.
I think his injury will push it back a decent amount unless Sam Darnold is that bad. If he's solid, I think, because the whole reason why you have McCarthy sit is for him to learn, and I don't think he's going to be doing too much learning if he's injured.
Yes.
So you're going to have to wait for him to come back, which we don't even know how long that's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then he's going to need some time to learn on top of that. With his injury, depending on how long it is, he might not play at all this year.
We never know.
Again, if Darnold is at all serviceable.
Hopefully he gets to play. I hate injuries with a burning passion. I wish he can play as soon as he can.
But
and then
did we decide on the Vikings game?
I was just going to say, and then if that's the case, I think the Bears should win this one. I feel like they split with the Packers and Vikings.
They could.
I don't think they beat the Lions.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
Which is next week, but we'll get there. I think they could beat the Vikings here.
Beat the Vikings here. This is
you go to Detroit on a short week.
No, that's not happening. I'm sorry. Bears are not beating the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the opposite side of it. Detroit's coming home on a short week.
True.
That's how that works. But they're coming from Indy, which isn't too far.
No. It's actually.
But also Chicago's not going that far. But it's a short week is the important thing, and they're on the road.
Point still being.
I think that's a win for the Lions. It's a nod for the Lions.
Mm-hmm. They're playing the Niners at San Francisco. No. The Bears are not beating the Niners.
Fair enough.
Unless for some random reason they do, which would be amazing because it's like, what the heck did we just watch? Because, those games tend to happen at this point of the year. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. The Niners should win this one, though. We'll leave it as a Niners win.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Bears, please do something funny. Like, you guys have the potential to do something very hilarious this season. For once, you actually have optimism.
The moment you were like, if the Bears beat the 49ers, it'd be like what the and I was like, yeah, which is why I'm kind of wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens, because I'm just like,
we said Bears are going to be a scrappy team just like the Cardinals this year.
They're just going to be all over, and I think they could. I mean, the Vikings beat them last year. It just could happen, and then I'd be like, God, I hate you, and then they'd go and lose a game they shouldn't. But either way. Then they go on the road to Minnesota.
Lose to Minnesota.
Monday night.
They lose to Minnesota. And then we have
Detroit
visiting the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, this one
okay, maybe they do.
I think they could. Plus, it was against the Lions that the Bears narrowly lost a game,
yes.
right? Because that was off of they had a chance for a last-second drive.
And they kind of butchered it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think Detroit falls a game to the Bears, now that I think about it. I think the Bears might actually be able to randomly split their division wins.
I mean, it's very...
with their losses.
It's a very new division. Like, it is not anywhere near where it was 3 years ago.
This is not the same division we know.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers-less Packers, Vikings are completely different.
They're cousinless, and then Detroit is somehow good.
Detroit is good now.
Yeah.
They're like the front runners, but it's just so it's a new era in the NFC North.
And I like it.
So yeah, I could see them splitting even with the Lions, who do actually have a kind of rough schedule.
Lions are pretty tough this season. Seahawks visiting the Bears. Bears will probably win this one, because that game's gonna be Thursday night. That's a turnaround for the Bears, kind of. I can see them losing it, but I can also see them winning it. This could be like when the Bears are like waking up being like, we could have a chance at the playoffs. Like,
when have they ever won when they have a chance at the playoffs?
I know, but maybe give them like this game, but then we have them losing to the Packers in Week 18.
Yeah, we do have them losing to the Packers Week 18, right?
So...
I'm
okay with the Bears ending 8-9 for Williams' first year. That's pretty decent.
Depending on how he looks.
Depends on how he looks. I do think that it's possible. I think 9-8 is their season, their high point, like their ceiling.
Oh, they definitely could get to 10 wins, but I think there's also a chance that they don't win any games against Detroit, don't win any games against the Packers
of all time.
And then, you could lose to Seattle.
They could beat Jacksonville.
They could, but they could also lose to the Rams and the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like they just have, a really wide margin of where they could end. You could have a 5-win season, or you could have a 10-11 win season.
Yeah, they have a wide range. They can do whatever they want. So Bears end 8-9. Yeah. Then we go to
the Lions.
The Lions. All right. Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. It's rough for them because they have to go. The first 2 weeks are playoff rematches.
Mm-hmm. Rams will probably beat the Lions.
Yeah, I thought Rams probably do. Buccaneers also will, week 2. Both are at home, which is the good thing for the Lions.
They will lose one of those games. I'm just trying to figure out which one it would be.
I'd probably say the Rams. The Buccaneers, I think they definitely could get away with a win.
Mm-hmm.
because again, just I don't know that the Buccaneers are going to look any better this regular season as they did last regular season.
Valid.
And I think this is a definitely winnable game. Well, they're both. If you're the Lions, all the games are winnable.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is. I like their chances better.
For sure.
I would say Buccaneers lose to the Lions.
Yep.
And then they go on the road to Arizona.
They probably beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I think the Cardinals will lose to the Lions.
Yeah.
Then Seattle visiting the Lions on a Monday night. It's a Monday night game.
It is, but there's one thing, and that is the Lions' track record the past couple of years against Seattle has not been good.
Great.
No. It's 2 straight years of they should have beaten the Seahawks. They didn't, which 2 years ago cost them a playoff spot, and luckily last year it didn't. But just they've not done well. They always play them early in the season, and Seattle just always seems to find a way to sneak out a win. You don't have Pete Carroll in Seattle anymore, so is that the difference?
It might be the difference.
Or is it? Are you looking at maybe like Geno has a regression, or is it maybe it's literally just the players and they can't get past the Seahawks?
I believe, coupled with Geno probably regressing a little bit more, and a new coach, because it's not Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll was the reason why the Lions couldn't beat the Seahawks, because Carroll's a really good coach. I think that's the reason why, and I think McDonald, he's a good defensive coach, but I don't know if he's going to be able to figure out their offense right away.
Now you can't. There is a thing to remember, which is Pete Carroll is still technically there. He's just not the head coach. So
this is true.
He is an advisor there. Maybe he drops a couple hints. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I think we're gonna see a different Seahawks team, like you said in the last one, a more defensive Seahawks team. Something closer to not necessarily the Legion of Boom, but a more dominant defense than maybe their offense. But they still have good weapons there, so.
Yeah. I want to say, why don't we leave this as a toss-up?
Fair enough.
It can go either way.
I think it'll be. I mean, the game's always close. Just for some reason, the Lions haven't been able to pull it out, but.
Maybe they do this year.
Maybe they do.
Then week 5 is the bye. Week 6, we have the Lions beating the Cowboys. Week 7. I would say a loss to Minnesota here is pretty reasonable, I would say. I mean, Lions aren't going to be perfect, just like every other team. They're going to have certain bumps here and there. Vikings in week 7, they might lose to. Also, Minnesota's coming off a bye on that week.
True. That is true. I agree. I think this is kind of a tough matchup for the Lions, and again, they have kind of a tougher schedule. NFC North.
I think they'll split with the Vikings.
I think they could. Sure. I think they could. I don't think they should, but I think they could. But then they get Tennessee at home, which should be a comfortable win.
All right. So week 9. All right. Packers fans are going to love me. I don't think Detroit beats the Packers this year.
At all?
At all. Packers, for some reason, I don't know why, I can see them beating Detroit twice. Packers historically have always had a number against their division, specifically the Bears. I mean, we saw the last couple of years, Detroit has beaten the Packers in multiple occasions, and Packers are a little bit salty about that. I do think the Packers are going to be better this year, supposedly. Jordan Love being more developed, I should say. I don't I can see the Lions losing both their games to the Packers. For some weird reason, I can see that. And it's very plausible, too, because the Packers, they're going to try and compete for that division win or divisional crown. And the North might end up being one of those tougher divisions to win.
That's true. And I think it'll be really interesting between these two. I think we'll actually see, like, I think Chicago and Minnesota will be kind of in the mix, but I think this is going to be Green Bay and Detroit battling it out. There's an interesting thing scheduling wise as far as the second one goes, the second matchup. But I could see, especially this being on the road, I think the Packers could get a win, week 9.
Mm-hmm.
So a loss there, and we'll get around to the second matchup.
Then we have Detroit beating Houston.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Jacksonville and the Colts and the Bears those next few weeks.
Oh, look. Here's the matchup.
Hey, here's the Packers.
Do you know what's funny about this matchup?
What?
This is on a Thursday.
It is on a Thursday.
But it's not a short week because the week before they were also on a Thursday game.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, it is a Thursday game.
Do you know what makes this even better, though?
What?
Green Bay also is not coming off a short week because they had a Thursday game the week before.
Oh, that's actually kind of funny. So this might be
good. You could double check the Green Bay week 13 game against Miami. I have it marked down as a Thursday game.
Yeah, it's a Thursday game. They're both Thursday games.
I don't know why usually there's only one Thursday game. And I know the week 14 game is the Thanksgiving game. That's why they're playing on Thursday.
And
the week before, I don't know why there's 2 Thursday games. That one, I don't know. I don't know.
Don't come to me. I'm not the one who makes the schedule.
It was just weird to me. But yeah, they're both playing on Thursday, but neither are coming off of a short week because they both had Thursday games the week before. Yep. So it's just a really interesting schedule.
I mean, if it's the week of Thanksgiving, right? Or around that time, right?
Mm-hmm. This week 14 is the Thanksgiving game.
Okay. Detroit tends to not do well in Thanksgiving games. If I historically have that correct.
Was it the Lions that were the wax and gibbous that they can't win on a wax and gibbous on Thanksgiving?
Yep.
Which is such an arbitrary stat.
Detroit.
Or is it the Texans?
No, it's Detroit.
For some reason.
On Thanksgiving.
I'm recalling a Tom Grossi video of the Texans blowing up the moon for some reason. And so I was like, it's the wax and gibbous, obviously.
No, definitely. Let's see here. They had a 9-game losing streak from 2004 to 12. And they had a second losing streak sometime in the past.
You also have to look recently because the Lions were also just bad for a while.
Yes, they've been historically terrible in the 2000s. So yeah, the last time they won on a Thanksgiving game was 2016 when they beat the Vikings 16-13. They have not won a Thanksgiving game since then.
Yeah, I could give the nod to the Packers then, because that's just, I mean,
it's the Packers, man. You can't just refute that. The Packers have owned the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Although I will say, at some point that trend is going to get broken.
At one point, I don't think it will be this year. And then week 15, we have the Lions beating the Bills. 16, we have the Bears beating the Lions. And week 17, this one is going to be one I'm going to look forward to a lot.
Yeah,
I think.
God, poor Lions. Such a rough schedule.
Hear me out. We had the Lions go to San Francisco and almost beating the Niners this last season.
Mm-hmm.
This regular season game, I think this is the point where the Lions get their comeback from last season because they lost in humiliating fashion to a degree against the Niners. I think this is going to be a revenge game for the Lions, and they beat the Niners.
That's fair.
They're both really good teams.
They are really good teams, and I mean, we know that all you have to do against Shanahan is really just get out to a lead, because
And they can do that.
He struggles coming from behind. Obviously, it wasn't the case in the playoffs last year, but
Most of the time, Shanahan cannot win from behind.
yeah, it is a very winnable game for the Lions,
Yes.
and it's I think especially again, if Ayuk is gone, that could be the difference between this being a win for the 49ers and a loss for the 49ers.
Agreed.
But I could see a win here for the Lions, because I still expect them to be a really good team, because they kept a lot of those pieces around.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then week 18 they finish off against Minnesota at home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, how much is this gonna matter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're at 10 wins, 10.5 wins.
I think they do beat the Vikings at home.
Oh yeah,
Because I had them split.
Yeah.
So they'll have like 11 and a half wins.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fair, I would think, for the Lions coming off of last year and supposedly being as good. I do think they're probably going to lose a game compared to their winning record this last year. They won't be as good in the regular season. I think it's the postseason where they get a boost. I hope.
Well, because the other thing is, again, it's a rough schedule. You got to play Dallas, which isn't going to be easy.
No.
You play Seattle, who you've struggled with. You have to play the whole NFC East, or West, which has just been difficult, especially with the Rams coming up now. Or not the Cardinals getting better. The Rams also doing better last year. You play the AFC South, which besides the Titans is a pretty competitive division. Maybe not like the best division, but it is a competitive division. They're on the up and up. And even the way again, you get the Titans at home, but Titans you could have beaten on the road, but then you have to play at Houston and at Indianapolis. You're lucky you get to play Jaguars at home, but there's you have to play Buffalo. You have all these it's rough, but that's what you get for winning the division. And I think coming out 11, 12 wins would be fantastic.
Which is possible, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, with that, you're competing with Philadelphia for currently a top seed. And I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see with how the rest of the division plays out, but at 11.5 wins with the difficulty of your schedule, I wouldn't be complaining.
No.
So
we want to go on to the Packers?
Absolutely.
Packers. We had them beating the Eagles week 1. Week 2, we had them beating the Colts, and they were beating the Titans the next 2 weeks. Week 4 against the Vikings. Vikings are probably not going to beat Packers at Lambeau right now.
No.
Week 5, they're visiting the Rams. I think the Rams might beat the Packers there.
Yeah.
They might hand them their first loss.
Hey, I would see them dropping one to the Rams here because it just doesn't seem like a favorable situation for the Packers. Contrary to what you get with Minnesota the week before, where it's like Minnesota, they're kind of resetting their team. You have Sam Darnold. Again, maybe J.J. McCarthy, depending on what's going on there.
Yes.
But they're still trying to get their stuff together. Also, not to mention, completely overlook the fact that they'll be playing Aaron Jones.
Yeah, that's true.
So
they might be a little angry about that.
But then you go to the Rams, and you're going against Stafford, and it's just... I just don't think it's as favorable, and it's going to be a little bit tougher. Rams are going to look better. Oof. But then they go on to play the Cardinals at home. I think that they'll be a little bit more fortunate because that would be the Cardinals at home October. It's a little bit cooler.
Not too cold.
I mean, it is midday, so it wouldn't be that bad.
That wouldn't be that bad, yeah.
I don't know. I'm leaning towards the Packers on this one.
Okay.
Um,
We can have that.
and then there's the Texans game.
Packers win.
Okay.
We had Jacksonville beating the Packers. Packers beating the Lions week 9. Week 10, there was the bye.
Mm-hmm.
Week 11, the Bears are beating the Packers.
Yes.
Week 12,
San Fran.
Francisco.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
Just 'cause
Niners
they
just
can't.
have they have a number against the Packers just as they do as the Cowboys.
Just can't for some reason. And then they go against the Dolphins, which I don't remember what we had.
Dolphins lose.
Ah.
So Packers win. Packers actually win
The next week too against
next
the
week
Lions.
too. Week 15 against the Seahawks, though. I can see both ways without being that late in the season. I do think the Packers have the slight edge, though.
I would say that they should win this game, but I don't know that they do. Again, this is another one where it's like blood runs deep in this game.
Seahawks are still going to play their hearts out.
Yeah, I mean it's a home game.
And Seahawks can easily be competing for a playoff spot, too.
They could be.
Depending on what we get to.
I think this might be a drop for the Packers.
Okay.
But then we have the Saints.
Packers beat the Saints. They'll lose to Minnesota, and they'll beat the Bears the last week.
Interesting.
So that leaves them at 11-6, and the Lions are 11.5. See, this is the thing. I think the division between the Packers and the Lions is a toss-up. I can see it going both ways. With how trends tend to work, I think the Packers might end up winning the division this year. Only because it's very hard to repeat, specifically in divisions like the North. I mean, unless you're the Packers. That I guess that's my point, is that we haven't seen a repeat in the NFC North besides the Packers. It's hard. It's hard to do that.
Yep, but the league is changing, and the Lions are a much better team than they were many years ago. So I think I would still give the nod to the Lions. I think it'll definitely be close. Again, Packers have a slightly easier schedule. A really big one. I mean, we give wins both ways, but a really big one is Week 13 playing Miami at home in November. Is great for the Packers.
Oh yeah,
because that's everything you want against Miami. Is later in the season, playing in a colder weather against the Dolphins has been like one of the biggest advantages we've seen against the Dolphins.
yeah.
So it's like their schedule's a little easier. The way their stuff lines up, like you're playing Texans at home, which helps. You do have to play the Jaguars on the road, but you're playing Tennessee on the road, which allows you to play Indianapolis at home. Is like just some of the trade-offs you get is a lot nicer. Obviously, you struggle against the 49ers, but at least you still get them at home.
Yes.
Their schedule just is nicer, besides that Brazil game, which is going to be rough to travel for, but a cool experience. It's just going to be a little difficult for the Lions compared to the Packers.
Agreed.
But I still think the Lions pull it out. But to wrap up the North, we have the Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Tiny Sota.
Sure. So we already have the Giants beating the Vikings week 1. San Francisco going to the Vikings.
Probably a loss for the Vikings.
Yeah. Texans beat the Vikings. They lose. Vikings lose to the Packers. They get their first win against the Jets. Then their bye week, they have their second win against the Lions. They visit the Rams. No. I don't think so. I don't know. Rams can be hot and cold, but they're better than they were last year.
And the interesting thing that we have so far is we have the Rams 2-3 against the North, or 2-1 against the North, but their only loss coming to the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Stuff like this happens, man. I don't know what to tell you.
So, it is the Vikings coming off of a short week too, which is just a thing to note. On the road, I think this could be just tough just because of traveling.
Mm-hmm. So Rams probably win this one.
Yeah.
Then we have the Colts beating the Vikings. The Vikings win their next 2 games
Against
on the
Vikings,
road
or
to Jacksonville and the Titans. Week 12, we have them losing to the Bears. Week 13, Cardinals are visiting the Vikings. I think the Vikings beat the Cardinals here because Cardinals can't be scrappy all the time. They can't put together wins like that all the time. So, yeah. Falcons visiting the Vikings.
Kirk revenge game.
This is the one where I'm trying to figure out. Falcons should beat the Vikings. However, it's a revenge game, so I'm willing to leave that as a toss-up.
My question is just what are the Vikings going to be able to do against? I mean, obviously you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones, but like also look at what the Falcons have. They're just, I feel like, a more complete team. They're a little more experienced with their young guys. They're a little bit more experienced than where the Vikings are because the Vikings are a little bit further back on the rebuild. Definitely a better quarterback, regardless of who's playing. I think Kirk is the better quarterback, assuming he's healthy.
I would hope so at that point.
But like the Falcons still have Kyle Pitts, Bijan, Drake London.
All those good players.
You got to go to O-line. That's another thing to note. Again, the Falcons are just going to be interesting because they have so much, and it seemed like what they were missing was a quarterback and a coach. Again, and some edge rushers, which they opted to not get.
I don't know why, but they chose not to.
But
so I can see a Falcons victory then.
It should be.
I can see it being a toss-up, but I also see the slight edge towards the Falcons right now.
The Falcons should be, based on last year, with they fixed 2 things, which were very big things. Well, fixed. You made changes that should address it, and if that actually fixes it, you should be there. That should be you're a good team now.
Yeah,
we'll see, but
we shall see.
We'll see.
All right, and then we have Vikings beating the Bears. Vikings visiting Seattle. I don't know about
2 teams. I just don't even like. I think back and I'm like, when is the last time these 2 have played? Probably hasn't been that long.
That
but
2015 wild card where Walsh missed that. Was it a 25-yard?
Right.
Yep.
Right. I recently just saw that. The funny thing is that was his only miss of the day. He was perfect on 3 of the games.
Yep. Oops.
That's what happens.
Do you think Seattle has a slight edge? They're probably more well-rounded at that point, I would say.
I think you probably see a better defense.
They're probably going to be prepared.
Are they going to be able to stop Jefferson and Addison?
They did let Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs leave.
Jamal Adams is he was barely playing.
Well, Diggs left.
Quandre Diggs is going to be a big thing, but he was also 31.
This is true.
I mean, you got Rick Woolen, you got Witherspoon.
Yep, Witherspoon.
Which is going to be huge. The other thing that I forget about with the Vikings is they have T.J. Hawkinson.
Yes.
I mean,
I can see the Seahawks having a slight edge in this game.
I can too. For some reason I see them having like a really good defense this year. And again, not like a Legion of Boom, but like a more so I don't even know what kind of defense, like Minnesota in 2017.
Yeah, I can.
More like that. Again,
More
they're
like
still
that.
young, but
I'll give them that.
so a loss to Seattle, and then
They win against the Packers and they lose to the Lions the last 2 weeks.
yeah, which I think actually,
A 7-10 record is not terrible.
especially if you get JJ
JJ
McCarthy in there somewhere and get him some development, or if he just sits and learns. Either way, I mean,
That's honestly, with the Vikings and Bears not having terrible records with their first rookies right there, a little weird, but I can see it happening.
hold on. We have this actually more competitive than the the AFC North. Closer in wins. Win gap is smaller.
I mean, the Browns are probably not going to be as good.
Yeah, we have because it was 12.5, 12, 9, and
9
then
and
6. This is 11.5, 11, 8, and 7.
That's just
I think
how
it'd
it
be
works.
interesting. It would be interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised, but I would be very interested and entertained if we saw all of these teams make the playoffs. It would be very surprising. It would require a lot of good play to young players, especially
Yeah.
from the the Vikings
Yeah.
and Bears. But I mean, we're kind of expecting it from Lions and Packers, and all it would really take is a few other NFC teams, because again, the NFC's been the weaker conference for the past few years. A few teams not performing as we expect, and I think that actually is absolutely possible.
Yeah.
But they don't have a clear-cut bad team on paper,
No, not really.
which, I mean, I like to see that. I like to see a competitive division, especially
Something that's not the AFC North. We need something different. I mean, the AFC North is always fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. It's just we need something new.
yeah,
We need a new
maybe
competitive division.
maybe a competitive division that doesn't beat each other up all the time and constantly injure each other.
AFC North is something else.
AFC North is like, we're shattering your kneecaps. It's our best chance.
Except this time, the North will eat their kneecaps.
Dan Campbell's gonna be like, go for the kneecaps.
Dude, he's going to have a field day.
Um,
So, that leaves, in order, from what I have, Lions are first with 11.5, Packers with 11, Bears with 8, and the Vikings with 7. That's going to be the NFC North. It'll be exciting. I'm excited for this division. Just by looking at what we've put down already, this might be a very fun division to watch. And it's not going to be just the Packers being really good and everyone else sucking for once.
the good old days.
Not from a few people I know.
That's fine. The Packers
Family
never
and
won
friends,
anything anyways.
they want something else besides the Packers winning. Anyways,
No,
but yeah, that's all.
I feel pretty good about it. So
That's good. I like it.
good soup.
Amazing.
All right. Well, that's the NFC North predictions. Thank you for watching. We'll have the South and West coming out soon, and that'll wrap up our predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Close around to the regular season, right around the corner, September 5th. We got some big things coming up for this season. We're very excited for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we look forward to getting there. If you like the video, like it, comment, whatever. If you disagree with everything, disagree, because I enjoy when people disagree with me. I don't know why.
I mean, I usually agree to disagree. That's usually what I like to do. I try to.
I try to get people to disagree with me so I can be like, you're wrong, you're mad. But
Your opinion is stupid.
yeah, I think the arguments are
I
fun.
need to be completely fair. Some of my opinions are pretty stupid. I will admit that.
I've made some bad judgment calls. Again, CJ Stroud was a bad call on my part. I was like,
know.
CJ Stroud, nah. I'm so
thought-
glad we didn't start before the
Before the
season. I was
season?
like, CJ Stroud's not going to be the guy. I didn't think Bryce Young was going to be the guy, to be fair. But I was like, CJ Stroud, not the guy. And
You're not that guy, pal. You're not
it's like, oof, I was wrong. It happens. You know, sometimes you gotta eat your words.
We have some terrible takes.
I have
it's
no
gonna
shame.
happen.
But yes, if you liked the video, you know, drop a like, a comment. If you want to check out some of the other stuff, we have a playlist of off season. We have stuff from last season. We got some skits out.
A lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. Although we still got plenty to do. But if you like any of that, if you like our content, go subscribe. Whatever. If you just want to come back every week or so and just watch us ramble, now you can do that too. So, thank you for joining us. We will see you in the next video.
See ya.